That applause was for us because we thought we played amazing yesterday. Bésame mucho, give us lots of kisses. Welcome back to the Horn Hangouts, and we are in sunny Palma de Mallorca, this wonderful Spanish island, for a special Horn Hangout stroke masterclass today with the wonderful Terwilliger. And to tell you exactly what we've been doing here, I have two wonderful people, Nigel and Miriam, from the orchestra. You have to tell me the Spanish name for the orchestra. Orquestra de la
Orquesta Sinfónica de las Islas Baleares.
Exactly. All together now? Right.
Orquestra
okay. Nigel, you're principal horn?
I am.
We are really old friends, because we used to study together at the Guildhall.
Yes.
Tell me what's been going on with all these wonderful people this week.
Well, we're really excited. We've been having a lot of fun. Eric played Strauss second with us up at the castle on Wednesday evening. Then the last 2 days we've been having master classes here with this wonderful group of guys and girls. And now we're all geared up for the hangout.
We are. And Miriam's been working overtime. She also plays in the orchestra. I said to Miriam, I want some beach. So Miriam went and brought a beach. So gracias for the beach. And thank you for organizing this. It's been a big horn event. Did you ever have such a big horn event here before?
No.
Will you ever do it again?
No.
Okay, may I introduce my wonderful friend and colleague, Terwilliger. Applause for Eric! You're too far away from me. Eric, this is your second Horn Hangout, which is why your T-shirt's a little bit washed out, isn't it?
It's proof that I've been wearing it.
It is. We'll get you a new one as well. So tell us what, Nigel said, you've been putting on this, you had this event, you played Strauss too, amazingly, I heard. What has been the idea behind doing this hangout? Because it was your idea.
Yes, indeed. Well, I've been here in Spain teaching. We checked it out now for 23 years now. And every time I've done a course here, and I don't know how many it's been, we always use the same procedure of starting with the Farkas warm-up that I explained, the technique and the whole breath production and lip sensibilization, and then I play it and the students play it back. And we really wanted to do that online because also to prove to people that it is possible to do Everybody says, oh my God, the Farkas warm-up, if I play that, I'm dead. I can't play anymore. But if you do it properly, it really is a warm-up and a polish-up.
How many people of you watching use the Farkas warm-up? Because how many here use the Farkas warm-up? There you go. Okay, most of the people here. So you've been doing this warm-up for the last 2 days with everyone, in Espanol, which I learned a lot. But today we're going to do it in English, and I hope people watching have their horns ready. I know Mark is in San Francisco, and he's just got up and he's drinking coffee. But Mark, I hope you've got your horn. We've got people from Costa Rica. Ricky Lee says hello to Eric and Sarah from Berlin. Alexander said that was the most awesome Bésame mucho ever. There's really people watching Costa Rica, New York City. This is really Netherlands. Ella's watching, your friend, the policewoman. Do you remember?
Yes.
Hello, Ella. We won't tell that story online. No. We'll tell you after. Iowa, Netherlands.
Indiana University.
Indiana University. Oh, the Indiana Horns are watching in Bloomington. Hello, Indiana Horns. It's so great you're here. Last time you were watching all live, you were up live in your pajamas, weren't you, for Ho Ho Horn? Indiana is very important because Philip Farkas actually taught there. Tell us a little bit about Phil Farkas before we start.
Well, Philip Farkas was the reason that I even applied to Indiana University, because I was fascinated by his velvet tone quality and his noble phrasing. The first time I actually was aware that he was playing something, I was like 16 years old and heard a recording of the second Brahms piano concerto, and I went running down to the basement, got my horn and tried to play it like he did. So, but when I got to IU in '72, there were no places in his studio vacant, so I had the great privilege of having my first 2 semesters with Ethel Merker. But she would...
Excuse me, I believe we have a photo of you and Phil and Ethel playing. Where was that?
In the Erie Crown Theater.
With the Carpenters. Now, probably nobody here knows the Carpenters. I'm sure a lot of you, you do, don't you? Yeah, right. We've only just begun. But have you got that photo, Jakob? You're showing it? It's fantastic. It's you, Ethel Merker, and Philip Farkas.
Yeah, in the Erie Crown Theater in Chicago in 1974. So, but when I was taking with Ethel those first 2 semesters, whenever I'd do something strange or remarkable, she'd take me across the hall to Phil and showed him like how I do lip trills. And he said, oh, it's okay if he's doing like that. Barry Tuckwell also moves that much when he does them. And so Phil and I had a contact already. And I started then after 2 semesters, started with him in his studio. But I never did the warm-up with him. Whenever I had a lesson with Philip Farkas, I was warmed up to a concert edge. I really wanted to present my very, very best so that he could polish something. And we talked about the warm-up occasionally. And I know that he really said, don't worry about it. You do some parts of it. It's not, everybody shouldn't play everything, and it's not this strict. It's a structure that everybody should make their own.
That's important for all of us watching to know. You do not have to play the Farkas from the beginning to the end as it's written. I certainly don't.
I do every day.
You do every day, but not how it's written.
But not exactly how it's
exactly,
written.
You've changed it a little bit.
Yeah, and I have my own little pre-warm-up. Everybody can do it themselves.
Okay.
What's wonderful about it is no matter if you do it all or just a little bit, you can always reduce it. I use it when I haven't played for 6 weeks, or if I've had a bad accident and haven't played sometimes for 6 months. A couple times
like
it's happened.
now,
Yeah.
you poor thing.
I broke my neck on November 21st.
Yeah. It's a miracle.
But everything's fine now.
Yeah.
But,
he just goes and plays Strauss 2 to recover. Yeah.
Well, I was relieved, actually. But the thing about it is it's always possible to do a baby version and leaving out the very top series. And you can take it only up to a G or take it to the next overtone or just take it however far it is for you without forcing. Because the main thing about this warm-up is it's about developing sensitivity in the aperture on a steady stream of air. And if you force it by trying to play too early, too high, then it's not going to be working, and you're going to be forcing, and it's counterproductive. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to be doing some of this. Is the point. It's not just a normal hangout of just talking. You'll be doing these warm-up exercises with your students, who, by the way, have come from all over. We've got people from Mallorca. We have people from Valencia and Valencia, is that right? Budapest, Laszlo, Colorado.
Sapporo.
Sapporo, you
Suki
came
desu,
you came the first.
Sapporo.
Yokoso. Yokoso. And Barcelona, we've got really
Sevilla.
people, Sevilla. So you have collected your troops from.
Unfortunately.
It's great.
The whole plan was that we would do it as a beach hangout.
I know.
That's why we did it at this time of year, but we could not find a beach that had enough streaming quality to do it online. And at this time of year, all of the orchestras have started, and I have students from my first generation that are playing in basically all of the best orchestras in Spain. And Bernardo Chifres is the only one that managed
Bernardo.
to come. One of my absolute oldest Spanish students, the first horn of the
so
opera
great
in
you're here,
Valencia,
Bernardo, quickly.
and the sponsor of my yearly course in Carlet, where he comes from. But so many people cannot come. I thought we were going to have 100 Spanish horn players, but it's the wrong time of year. And we're still not on the beach. That's afterward. We're having a beach
We are
party.
going to have a beach party, and also I'm sure most of you saw all these beautiful people in their bathing suits yesterday. We had a great time filming that on the beach. Speaking of sponsors, we have a big thank you to Gebruder Alexander, who have sponsored this Horn Hangout, and we are very grateful for that. So thank you for that. Philip is watching at home. He's an injured foot, so he couldn't come. But hello, Philip.
Hey.
Gracias, dankeschön. And a lot of you are watching on Facebook right now. Now, I'm quite good at multitasking, but not that good. So I've got the chat with the questions here from the website. So if you want any questions asked, either write them on the website, or go to the chat box here on the website, or write them in Facebook. Maybe Handsome Tim, who is awake in Melbourne right now, or are you in Brisbane, Tim? Where are you today? Melbourne or Brisbane? What time of night is it in Australia? Anyway, we couldn't do a hangout without Handsome Tim and Livestream, his company, so thank you very much. And sorry we're keeping you awake. Good, so what shall we start with? We've got a question. Rich has said he used the Douglas Hill warm-up, which is supposedly an extension of the Farkas. There's a lot of extensions.
Oh, yeah. It's like the same way that I have no experience with other horns because I've always played in Alexander since 1982.
And you're not just saying that because they're sponsoring your hangout.
No. But also, I've always played the same warm-up. I do not have any experience with any other warm-up. So
good. Well, let's do the warm-up. Anyone who's at home with the warm-up? Are we also, Jakob and George have come here to Mallorca with us. Is everything all right? Are we ready to go? Good.
Okay, first I would like to just explain some things about how to do the warm-up.
Okay.
Because it's all about developing aperture sensitivity. Philip Farkas would tell us you have to taste the notes, and he wasn't saying each note is strawberry or chocolate. He meant that developing the muscle memory so that you actually could feel which note you were going to play. And one of the big things he had was that the aperture was responding to a steady airstream. And I've been doing yoga and Alexander technique for over 40 years and have had the opportunity of applying it actively. In 1983, a dentist damaged a nerve extracting a wisdom tooth, and this part of my face died. And after 6 months, I was able to flex the corner. I couldn't even seal the corner off at first. And when I started back up, I developed, with yoga and Alexander technique, a system of opening up my airstream so that I could compensate for only having 3/4 of an embouchure, which sometimes is a good thing. At the end of Mahler 7th, for example, in the last page of Mahler 7th, my embouchure only hurts 3/4 as much as everybody else does. So that's some positive parts about it. But one of the main things that I've learned is the value of postural integration. Because the way to free up the airstream and not get it stuck in the middle is to allow the intercostal muscles to work. And that's the meat in between the ribs. And they're attached to the vertebrae, and any type of energy that's going downwards will make these intercostal muscles stiff and rigid and not be able to be put to use. And the only way to get them opened up is to keep an extension in your vertebrae so that you're not clamping down on anything. So with the Alexander technique, this was very, very good. I'm going to do an Alexander technique exercise with Sarah.
Yeah, I know all of you that saw his last hangout are probably laughing right now because he really landed me in it. Made me lie down on the floor in a short skirt.
And do yoga with
Yes.
me. But this is much easier. you just have to take your shoes off.
I have to take my shoes off, okay.
But before we do that, I wanted to say the reason that I'm so into the integration and the opening up of this part is so that I can use the intercostal muscles. And I have a little thing that was the reason that I wanted to do a beach hangout that I call the beach position, which is if I'm standing at a beach and my chicken cemetery is hanging out and...
Your what?
My Cementerio de Pollo. My chicken cemetery here. If I'm standing and relaxed and my belly's hanging out and drinking a beer on the beach and a bevy of beautiful girls go by, I change from this position to this position. And this is exactly what I do when I support. So after I take in a relaxed, natural breath, there's no such thing for me as a brass player's breath. I just try to breathe as natural as I can. After I take that natural breath to construct my air bow, then I tighten the frog on that air bow by doing this. And this I have called the beach position, which is the whole reason I wanted to do it on the beach.
Yeah.
But so
we would have loved to have had you on the beach in the
Yeah.
bathing suit doing this hangout. Right?
Yes, well, and I'm going to be doing
We'll
an
take some
exercise.
pictures later.
Yes, we shall. Doing this with the group. Also, I have some little exercises for that. But in order to get in contact with the ability to do this without disturbing anything, you have to be able to integrate your posture. Not only standing, but also sitting. And with the collection of lousy chairs in all the halls in the world, that's difficult. But I'm going to start standing with Sarah.
Yes.
So we need a camera coming over here, I guess. Huh?
George is on his way. Who's coming over? Someone coming over here. Okay.
So this is an exercise.
George is moving. Here he is.
This is an exercise that every movement should be done with an exhalation. So anytime you're doing one of the movements when you're trying to do this with us, make sure that every movement is done with an exhalation. Also with consciousness that the entire spine is going up.
Hey, I did my hair today.
And not clenching in any of the movements, keeping the neck free. It's a whole Alexander concept. But we can do this. We okay to do this now? Let me get on the other side first, okay? So get a little bit further away from the wall. No, not too, that's too far. Good, now get your feet about hip width. Good. Have your hands hanging down. So the first thing you start, she's not touching the wall. So you're going to breathe in. And breathe out and hit the wall. Okay, now in this position, the small of her back is not touching the wall. It's like this. So the next thing you're going to do is to breathe in. Exhale and bend your knees over your toes slowly and slide down the wall, canting your hips so that you can press the back into the wall. Breathe in again, breathe in. Now breathe out and raise your heels. We have to start from the very beginning again.
Oh, God.
Okay, everybody start from the beginning.
Sorry.
Just do what I say, Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we start. So breathe in, breathe out, hit the wall. Relax your head. Don't get the head on the wall. Just keep the head relaxed. Yeah. Relaxed and forward, okay? Breathe in. Exhale and bend your knees over your toes. As much as you can, slide down the wall and cant your hips so that you can press the small of your back in there. Now you're going to breathe in and breathe out and just raise your heels, come up on your toes.
That was the one.
Stay now this way you can feel your back even more into the wall.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're going to breathe in again and breathe out, come down with your heels and slide up the wall. And come off the wall, and this really makes your posture.
It really does.
It really does.
It really
gives
does.
you the feeling of extension.
Oh yeah.
Now, if anybody's seen me perform, you can see me doing that. I always have before I play. When I do this last thing, I will go up. Maybe it's just a millimeter or two, but what I'm not doing is clamping down. And this gives you the ability, because if this part is free, then the intercostal muscles, which are attached from here to here, are not being clamped down upon. If you everybody put their hands on their.
What are intercostal muscles in Spanish?
The costillas. Yep, costillas. If you put and everybody just breathe in naturally, and breathe out, you can feel an expansion and a contraction here, and that's natural. And this is something that we can use naturally, but it doesn't work if you, now everybody, try to tense your diaphragm. Tense your diaphragm and breathe in and breathe out, and you will feel that these do not move. So the main key of my whole support system is opening up by, after I take my natural breath, getting into the beach position, so this releases any clamping down that I'm doing here by opening it. And it's a small movement. You'll see when I play this is exactly what I do before I play a note. If I can get me here, get in my chicken cemetery here.
Get the chicken cemetery in, George. You got it? Yeah.
Okay, now when I take a breath, this is going to expand with everything else. And before I play, you'll see me tuck in. And the openness of here does some things that are very positive. It, first of all, allows you to release the shoulders. We're holding the weight of the horn basically on our right hand, and the last thing that I have to check before I play is that this right shoulder is down, so that I'm not clenching against my airstream and also hurting or inhibiting the expansion of the intercostal muscles. It also, when you play with your chest open, you're going to have a much better chance to vibrate the air in your chest. It's not only, we're not blowing air through the horn, we're making a vibration here that is amplified by the horn. And if we keep our chests open, we will be able to vibrate more air in our chest. And for me, as a guy who's been sort of fat all his life, I look a little bit slimmer when I'm performing. So, how much, yeah.
Good. So how about some warm-ups? Let's see what's been going on
Okay.
here. Chicken cemetery. Yes, people like the chicken cemetery.
Okay. So before we do anything, I want everybody to stand up first, just to get your chest free. Okay. And I want everybody to just do this, because I want you to feel your chests open. So go and do this. Okay, now everybody feels your chest. Now just take a normal breath and feel how the chest can open up now. Now you are allowed to move your shoulders. Of course you can't lift your shoulders to breathe, but the shoulders will move at the end of a full breath. The shoulders are also going to raise and expand. You'll see that maybe this is a good time to mention that this Strauss second that I played on Wednesday night it's being downloaded on YouTube now. Lotse Zeeman, Dr. Zeeman from Budapest, made a phenomenal recording with his BlackBerry. The sound quality, I couldn't believe it. But that will be also having a link on my website that just went up last week, that is ericterwilliger.com, written all together in small.
Maybe someone could put it put the link on the chat. That would be great.
Yeah, ericterwilliger.com, written together in small letters. And there's very interesting music things and a discography and all sorts of things on it. Pictures of me in strange yoga poses on the beach. Yeah, so you can see that when there's a couple parts in that concerto where you have to use your entire capacity. And I watched it this morning, and I could really see myself before I played the very first introduction doing this, and you could actually see my shoulders go up and then me releasing here. So that's the first step of getting the chest free. So then I have another beach position exercise that I do using two hands, because the most important thing about this whole concept of flexible support, when we have to develop flexibility, because we're horn players. We're the chameleons of the orchestra. We play with the brass players, and then they put their little horn instruments on the stands, and we keep playing with the woodwinds, and then they put their instruments on the stands, and we keep playing with the strings, the cellos, and the violas, and then we have to play something alone completely. So we're always having to change our sounds, and this flexibility that we need with that can be done with this system if you don't get into the support while you're breathing in. So this is an exercise that helps you learn to separate the support from the breathing in. The absolute natural breath has to be then made into something unnatural. To play the horn, we need compression. And this exercise is to do that. I'll just demonstrate it once again for everybody. It's done with two hands. Left hand is here, and then I'll raise this hand. And when I breathe out, I will turn my hand to blow warm air onto my palm, and with this turning to get my palm, I'm also getting into my beach position, making sure that it goes When we perform, there's this thing called stage fright and pressure of performing. And if we start with a rigid system, and we get even tighter and tighter, there's going to be a point where you don't feel anything and nothing's going on, and where's my air? And people might have had experienced that. And the way to combat that is to open up and remain flexible. So the way that I do that is to first take a natural breath, then get into the beach position, and then play. So I want to start first, before I do the Farkas warm-up, I always do, I call it in Spanish, my despertador de vibración. It's my wake-up call for my vibration in my lips, just to feel that I actually have a vibration in the middle. Okay, is it possible to feel that? Please, just feel that. Now, this is just the beginning. If you're able to feel that, you're going to be reconnecting your mind with your muscle memories to play the horn the way that we want to do it. Now, I start out first to get in contact with the inner ring, not just how the lip feels on the outside of the mouthpiece, but the inside by bending notes. Let's just do one of each series so we don't have much time left. So let's do it first. Fa, F horn, bend it down. The same muscles that control that also are helping us do our crescendo, decrescendo. So I always follow that with a decrescendo, crescendo, decrescendo. Pianissimo, pianissimo, support, open, crescendo, chest open, decrescendo, decrescendo. And then again, to reconnect my muscle memories that it's possible to slur without pushing, I do one slur, half tone slur down, do my first articulation of the day by making a legato tongue without interrupting the airstream, and slur back up. And I'm just reconnecting things and trying to make it also as easy as going, because that's the feeling that I want to always have. So let me do that first. Uno, dos, slow, sin empujar, don't push. Okay, and this should be mezzo forte. That was too loud. I want to start all my days going, first feeling natural. So I'll do that all the way down, including the bending and the crescendo, decrescendo. Let's just do the last one so we don't lose too much time. Just do one here. One and two. Mezzo forte, no more. Mezzo forte, no crescendo. That I'm doing, a warm-up is not only warming up your lips, you're reconnecting the muscle memories with the mental aspect of telling yourself to do this. So while I'm doing these easy steps, I'm really concentrating on, first of all, feeling myself opening up, and feeling myself not clamping down on the diaphragm, so that I have two zones of flexion in my abdominal muscles and in my the embouchure. And everything else between is trying to be as relaxed as possible, despite holding up a horn. So after that, just to reconnect the sensation that it's possible to play higher without contracting against my abdominal muscles, but actually flexing the abdominal muscles and opening my chest, I do a very simple chromatic scale. So I can feel myself going, ha, and not going, ha. In the first octave, you don't really need to use that much compression difference. It's all about reconnecting these mental images to get those muscle memories going. So I just do a chromatic scale on F horn. Try not to go, but really make myself sure that I'm going, okay, so, uno, dos, luba, duba, 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 F Okay, and that gets me ready to start the Farkas warm-up, because the first thing on the Farkas warm-up is this pre-warm-up that goes all the way up to a high C. It's a series of arpeggi that has a little eighth note in between each of the notes. And this is to make sure that we remain flexible, because it's not possible to play that eighth note break on a high C if you're going E, E. The only way to do that is to remain flexible and not fight against the abdominal muscles. So we'll do a few series of that. I play, and then the group plays. This is part of the warm-up. You mix it. You can use F horn, B flat horn, doesn't matter what you do. Whatever you want. So everybody gets ready. Un, dos. Sol, mezzo forte, non mezzo forte. Sons. Keep the air going. Rest. Good. Now, you hear that each one of the notes are separated. And we're not separating by going, we're trying to get it all on one flexible airstream. So that goes on and on and on and on and on and on until we go up to it goes gradually, but we don't have much time. But so don't worry, you don't have to do that right away. but this whole thing goes up. If we do this properly, we're not going to have a point where we do something different in the high range. We're just going to continue doing everything the right way so that the high range becomes something that we do without having to change anything. After that, we'll do a couple of series of the next section, which is the only part of the warm-up where you actually play loud. We are striving not to push any notes, to wait for every single slur that Farkas also said was a flick of the lips. This part, as in all of the rest of the warm-up, I always start on the bottom. In the warm-up that is in the Farkas book, he starts on the open series that goes all the way up to high C. Farkas had a high range that I would probably cut off a fingertip to have what he could play in the high range, but his low range wasn't good. Till Eulenspiegel was always second horn. So he started on the top. We humans like to start on the bottom, so we'll first start on the bottom, and I'll play it, and everybody do it. It's possible also to reduce pressure. First of all, by making sure that the shoulder is down. The right shoulder relaxed will help you open up the entire shoulder region. We're carrying the weight of the horn on the right shoulder, so we have to be very vigilant that this is not clamping down. If you do that, then you can access the chest, and you also, if you've got the shoulders relaxed, you can learn to distribute pressure rather than just putting it on. And if you can try to feel now 360 degrees of your mouthpiece rim while you're doing this, especially in the ranges where you don't need to press that hard, the low range, then you can gradually learn to use less pressure in the entire ranges and let the air vibrate the lips. That's what it's all about. own specifications. People who have less high range should not go up to the high note. They can do this the next overtone by going. Instead of. There's always the option of going up to that first overtone. So, because it's not a competition, it's trying to find out how can I do this efficiently and relaxed so that I can learn to reduce this. So I'm not going to be afraid of performing, of the tension and the rigidity can be turned into openness. So there's also, when I'm warming up after a long time, I also sometimes do the very last series with only on overtones going. So there's many options you can do this depending on how much strength you have. So the important thing is also in between, these in-between breaths, is feeling the flexion in your abdominal muscles. So you have only a very short time to breathe and get back into the beach position. So you could make sure that you're feeling your abdominal muscles. And then when you go dee-ya, so give yourself time to get.
Do you have any, for people that are not quite feeling the chicken cemetery, what exactly should we be feeling there?
Well, I'm very diligent in doing exercises. Every morning I'm on the floor right after I get out of bed doing yoga, and I do a series of stomach exercises that I can feel my abdominal muscles. People who just sit around on the potato and the couch potatoes have more trouble feeling this because they don't have contact with your muscles. Horn is a physical thing. You have to get yourself in shape. I'm fat but fit, and having the flexion in your stomach muscles is something that you can learn how to feel if doing your stomach exercises as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I'll just go up and down, and then you play it, okay? I'll do the very last series. Beach position. Wait for the stars. Open. Flex. Less pressure. Right shoulder. And Brahms, not Mahler. Open. Of course, in the very last part, it's easier to play, and you can get sloppy in not keeping the support going. Never push notes, and be very sure that you're keeping this flex going throughout the whole thing. The marvelous thing about this system is if you're not fighting against those abdominal muscles with this part, you don't really have to use that much effort. It really makes horn playing easy. It makes it playing not work, and I have enough work. So let's go on. That goes all the way up to the high C. All the way up and down. But now let's go on. Let's pick the first valve combination for this next one. The same thing that we did on the beach in the water yesterday. This goes on. Now it goes down to mezzo forte. And as it goes, I think I'll play through all of them, and then everybody will just do one. Okay? I'll do all of them quick. Well, two of them is enough. Now everybody do the B flat, okay, in that tempo. And make sure that you're not going ha 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 ha. Try to feel that flex going from the very bottom to the top so that you're not having to do something different to hit that high note. If you're doing this alone, try to make sure you do it with a metronome in the beginning so you don't slow down and give yourself a chance to do something wrong, okay? So everybody with first valve B flat, do ba do ba dee ba da da. let's just keep going on first valve, because this is just a demonstration. This can be done from second and the third all the way up to open. Depending on how much time I have. Sometimes on tour we get there and there's only 10 minutes before we have a stage rehearsal, and I can only do the first 10 minutes of the warm-up, but that's sometimes life. So the next part is from here on and it's piano. And this part is faster, and Farkas describes it with a woodwind-like lightness. So we're really trying to get in contact with the embouchure and making sure that this aperture is responding to the airstream. The more we improve the quality of air by not clamping down, but opening up and broadening our air, we'll be able to create more impact and create more vibration with even less amount of air. And piano is extremely important. I don't really want to say anything bad about conductors, but they're not really my best friends sometimes. And there's one part of a conductor's anatomy that I really don't like, and that's their palms sticking in my face like this. So I'm always trying to work on playing piano and pianissimo so that I don't see that. And how often do the conductors say, "More horns, more horns"? You hardly ever hear that. Yeah? Okay. So this next part is as light and fleet as you can make it. Support, open shoulders, open shoulders. Good, very good, very good. That goes again, the second and third all the way up to open. The next series changes directions. And you really have to be careful that you're not going, but trying to go wee-ah-ee-ah-ee-ah-ee. And again, making sure that we're using less pressure on the bottom so we don't have to use that much pressure on top. There are limitations. We have to press harder when we play higher. But we're made out of flesh and blood. And as my daughter always reminds me, and Fat Daddy. So we make sure that we don't press on the bottom, we can press less on the top. Let's just stay in E flat. Maybe a little slower because we have a mixed group here. This is very difficult in a group. When you're doing this alone, make sure that you're not doing it too fast, and then you get sloppy. Okay. Be da dee da 1, 2, 3, 4. And the intervals keep getting larger and larger, but what we're really trying to do is keep the air so steady that we're not inadvertently huffing the notes into place, as Farkas said. We don't want to push notes. I mean, you think if you go, you're going to get more you're going to get more compression, and indeed, at the end of maybe there's more compression, but if you're going, at the end of that, where there's less compression, that's exactly where we want to do the slur. And that's why the slurs get sloppy and don't speak, because the lips are starved for air. So again, steady air is the key to this next part. And it's done without any excess working against the bottom. In order to help that out, let's first just everybody do a glissando to make sure. You cannot do a glissando trying to push every overtone. It doesn't work. And it will help you do the next part without pushing. Everybody do a glissando. Feel it steady. Open up before. Good. Now, good. Now. 1 and 2 and. Very good. and then come octaves. And if you're doing this all properly, and then by this time, you have gotten in contact with the flowing of the open air column and the stimulation and vibration in your lips, and you should be able to do this. It's about flexibility. It's not about going like this. Because boy, if we try to do that again, just Beethoven Ninth is going to kill you.
I've got some questions.
Yes, please.
People want to, a lot of people watching on Facebook, so we're very happy for that. A lot of people saying hi to you. There's just some questions about the Farkas one, but also my personal questions. So when he writes it in his book, which is our Bible, The Art of Playing the French Horn, he writes it starting with a C and going down to, because he preferred with the higher register, right?
Yeah.
But you work up from the bottom.
Yes.
I do that
and
too.
all of my students do as well.
Is there a danger with younger players, like the one you just did, the ba 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 ba? I'm glad we didn't have to play that now. We're going to play that now. But how to make sure there's no acrobatics going on here?
Well, if the camera's on me, you'll see that my lips move a lot. As I explained, I only have 3/4 of an embouchure, and I have, if you can see the corners of my lips have different flex because I don't have feeling in this part. Here, if you see, I've got this corner is different than this corner. So I have lots of movement. But I've had students that even have a low range change that they have to pop the lip. And I said, well, gosh, you're going to have to change that.
Yes, you keep hitting your microphone.
Oh, sorry. And I came back a year later and he said, I have to show you this. And he went, and he popped it out so fast and it really worked. And he's a second horn in the Paris Opera. I mean, but of course, acrobatics are not good. But I think the main problem with younger players is starting out that bottom note. Yeah. And I recommend having contact with your lip, with your tongue, to like spitting a pip of an orange out of your thing to start the note. If we're doing Shostakovich Fifth, and everybody has to go, I've got to start that out.
You guys usually leave it out and let us play it. No, Eric never leaves it out.
That's the relaxing part. Finally, we can relax.
Yeah.
But to start out these bottom notes too, you'll see that I'm actually doing this.
Oh.
To start out those bottom notes. Of course, with a steady airstream, you can't huff it. You have to get the air set up and release it.
Okay.
And then just start it very slowly to just try to find things. Before I have strength, after a break, I'm only going. The good thing about doing this next overtone is if you do the whole series and you get up to a. That's an A flat. So if you can get that easily, then you can already go. It will be that same note.
Okay. Sorry, please carry on. It's just some people question. So look. There you are. It's going. It's running.
So the next part, this is all the slurred part. Then comes a tongued part, which is basically exactly the same as the first part, but it's separated by a page of scales. Now, the object of these scales is to make sure that we have the same clean attack through the entire range of the horn. And it's also then goes up to 176, which is pretty fast. And is a real exercise of making sure that the tongue is not having too large movements if you reduce the movement to a small movement, then you're going to have the ability to tongue much quicker and cleaner. The longer we tongue, the tongue is a muscle, tends to get rigid, and if we're doing this, it's going to get even more tight. And I always have to think of Celibidache when he was in his 80s doing Tchaikovsky's Fifth with him. Not the slow movement, because that was either play or die, but the last movement, what would go. And then like after 10 measures of this, you're going, and trying to keep the tongue loose with something like that, this is a very good start for this. And it's not about playing it in one breath. You can breathe whenever you want to. It's about trying to maintain a clean, rapid tongue throughout the 3 octaves. But it's not about just playing it in one breath. It's fun to see how far you can go with it and how many times you can repeat it. But let's do it now with just without a repetition.
Did you breathe at all?
Before I played it, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So you can breathe wherever you want in a group. Let's go try to get it in this tempo, and make sure that we're using the same production and not getting louder when we get higher, keeping the same mezzo forte, clean dynamic. Okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sin repetición. Oh, good. See, they all did it in one breath, too. That's very good, very good. So,
okay.
And afterwards, we're trying to just do the same thing. Be careful you don't play it too fast, any of these series, before you really can. It's much more efficient and for the production and improving if you do it slower and with a metronome, so you're making sure you're not slowing down for a difficult part and changing things, trying to get it all on one real flexible airstream is what it's all about. The tongue, though, if you use the system in the air, there are basically no limits. Just this is ridiculous, and don't try to do this until you can. And it's not the way I do it, but just to demonstrate that how fast the tongue can be with this next part, I'll do it in a ridiculous way. And it's not anything except reducing the length of the distance between the tongue and the teeth, and staying relaxed. But let's do it on first valve in a good tempo, which would be, if we were going, we'll probably be able to go Uno, dos, uno, y dos, y. Piano. Very good, very good. Now these are very advanced players, and Bernardo has been doing the Farkas warm-up for 23 years. ¿Cuántos años tocas de este? Huh? ¿También? She's been doing it for 9 years, and I've been doing it for 42 years. And this is also a progression. But if you do this daily, you're going to make sure that you're counteracting this biorhythm. There's not only a biorhythm of our body, there's a horn biorhythm. Depending on how much we've played, or gosh, if we're jet lagged, or we've been traveling so long we haven't had time to practice, or if we've been maybe using our lips for other things too much, or God forbid you could ever have something like a hangover. And every day is different. And if you do the same structure, every day you're going to learn how to keep those curves, at least so that the audience doesn't know them. So let's, as you see on the Farkas, the warm-up starts then on the higher octave. Let's do the bottom octave on first valve again. Uno, dos, uno, y dos, y. These are advanced players. Tita, tita, un, dos, tres, and there's
Eric,
always the option.
Another question, just come in. When people are doing this in a group warm-up, you can sort of feel the energy going towards that high note because everyone wants to get it. And that might be a little bit damaging if you're doing a warm-up. No? Can you tell us again what we can do to avoid that?
Yes, well, very good question, because I always emphasize in a group, first of all, that it's not a competition. It's all about finding your own registers and trying to improve them maybe a half note at a time. There's always the option of using the last harmonic or not playing the top note at all. Sometimes I tell the students to do this in the very first part. When we're doing it in a group, so you're not just going and getting it any way you want, because we are in the business of selling notes. It's like a baker. Who wants to buy a burnt clump of bread? We want to sell beautiful smelling brown buns, and the same thing, we want to sell good notes. So if you're only getting them out by going, I got it, you're not going to be able to sell it. And that's only that's not why I play the horn. And if I can digress even more, I think our job as musicians is to play beautiful music so in a way that our audience will be able to forget the troubles of the world just for even a couple of seconds. If I manage to make enough music that for a few seconds the audience is going, and not thinking about some of these horrible things that are going on in the world, then I think we've done our job as a musician.
I must admit, you guys, sorry, I'm having a little problem because I've got the chat now up on Facebook, so it's very complicated here today, but it's still working really well. You can see there's Victoria's watching in Philadelphia. Hello, Victoria, one of my Pacific Music Festival. Julie Landsman has got up and is watching.
Oh, hey, Julie.
Which is lovely. Jacqueline in Dallas, Texas has been working on articulation religiously, and this is extremely helpful. If you've got questions, keep them short, because I can only see the short ones.
Okay.
So where are we?
So we were going beep-up, 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 and then that question came in. Of course, if you do, as I said already in the very beginning, if you're only getting that top note by doing something different and going da 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 da, then it's really wrong. Then you're doing it too early, and that's why I say if you're having trouble with that top note, just play the next overtone and go. Because it's such a little difference. And if you do that whole series, then you've already played the A flat, and you can go back and play it on the A flat without having to go, ugh. It's very often a mental barrier. One of the main things is that if you have too much tension on top going in, or also here using the diaphragm, oh, let's get that support going. Oh, it's really much easier to really move air by going than it is to going. Then if you do too much up against here, you're going to be blocking the strength that you should be taking all the way up to the lips from the abdominal muscles. I
have the slur question back from Matthew. Another philosophy recommends bumping one note into the next by relying on the air maximum speed. Slurring for you, and that's one of the things I love most about playing with you, are these slurs. You slur into them. You don't bump. You don't push. How does the warm up help with that?
Oh, well, it's all about consistency. It's all about keeping the air constant, and just changing the slurs with a flick of the lips. The whole warm up, I've been saying, don't push. And I was describing, if you go, oh, then it goes, oh, and there's actually less where you really need it.
Yeah.
The sensitivity that we learn through using pianissimo also, I think, is a very big part of learning how to feel the inside. It's all linked up with introspection and learning how to feel it, so that we store muscle memories that can work when we just loosen up and let them flow.
Fred Brownlee asks, is it okay to mix other warm-ups with the Farkas warm-up?
You can warm up any way you want, as long as you do it properly. I use the Farkas warm-up, and this is what works for me. As long as you're trying to take care of your proper technique, which is not clamping down on your air string, but relaxing, then it works. I mean, people ask me, how can you play that Till Eulenspiegel encore after playing Strauss second? And it's because I'm relaxed. I really try to play relaxed. People watch the Beethoven 7th recording with you guys and other things, Health and Leben, all this stuff. He said, how can you do that? You look so relaxed. I said, well, that's because I am relaxed.
Because you start the day with these relaxing warm-ups.
Yeah.
You really do, every day. Another thing maybe worth asking, you want to have a seat? Another thing maybe worth asking is, there's been some talk with this focal dystonia thing about maybe it's being caused by people doing the same thing every day.
No, it's being, if the same thing they're doing is forcing, then that's what it's caused. There are 2 students here also that have had focal dystonia. Laszlo, and he told me yesterday, he said, you saved my life. Oh. I could not play a note, and then after he invited me to Budapest, and I did master classes at the Franz Liszt Academy, and we worked and talked for just days and days, nonstop. And after that, he started playing again by using this system of opening up and vibrating.
Because dystonia obviously makes a good horn player go,
You know, I did a study once after a horn convention, after I played second Strauss in the Bloomington thing, I guess maybe 12, 13 years ago. And an old friend with whom I had studied was doing this research, and he hooked me up to all the electrodes and everything, and had me force until I almost had focal dystonia myself. And they're saying, okay, no, harder, no, more, yeah, hold it up until you can't play it, hold it. And I told him, well, this is, I think, why focal dystonia happens, is the forcing. But
greetings from Azerbaijan.
Oh, Andrei.
Israfil Rasulov. Sorry if I said that wrong.
Hello.
Says, and Milady,
Milady.
Gonzalo Marin is watching. She said sometimes with you they played the baby Farkas.
Yes.
What's the baby Farkas?
The baby Farkas is exactly that. Not playing the high note. Just
Bending.
doing,
Can you just give us some more exercise of that?
Just doing the baby Farkas, and it's what I also use. If I have not played a note after 6 glorious weeks of summer vacation that I try to do every time, I'll start, first of all, just with an octave. Sometimes I only play a fifth going, and if I get up to a, then I'll go down to the octave and go it up, and if I can get to a, then I'll do the octave and a half. Then I will, on the first day, I never play higher than a G, so I'll do all of those series going, On the first day, I never play higher than a G. And then I take a break, and then I play Bach suites.
Bach
And the cello suites are, that's the most beautiful
In the
music
original
that I
key
know.
or in the...
No, I use the Wendell Haas version, because
yeah.
I cut my Bach teeth on that when I was in college.
We like these sort of insider information.
Yeah.
Argentina, we just had Fernando is watching, Fernando Chapero, and he said he loves the Farkas exercise, done for almost 20 years.
Oh, right.
So where are we in the warm-up? What do you want
I
us
think, well,
to
it's
do?
exactly the same thing. It goes, we've done it pretty much, showed everybody that it's also possible playing these notes and playing these things. And I've done this with literally hundreds of Spanish students over these years. And we have to find, it's time to finally make a list of where all my students are playing in Spain. Because I have more students in jobs in Spain than in any other country in the world. I'm half Italian, and I think it's my Mediterranean blood that has given me this Spanish connection.
A friend of mine from LA is on holiday right now in Spain, Olaf on Ronda, and he's enjoying the class. How many days, Alan Fogel, hi Alan, how many days do you like to give yourself after a vacation to get back into shape? Well, you had a long vacation because you had a bad accident. And
oh yes, that was more of a vacation.
that was...
No, I generally, if I have rehearsals in the orchestra, I need 5 days to get back in shape after even 6 weeks off. By doing a baby Farkas the first day. The next day I'll go up to an A or A flat, or maybe just one of them. And then the next day I just do the penultimate, the next overtone. And by the third day I'm already going up. Usually by the fourth day I can get to a high C. The fifth day is trying not to do too much when I think I'm already doing it. But I've been doing this for over 40 years. Sarah knows, I've always worked incessantly in at least 2 orchestras simultaneously. And by the time the end of the season rolls around, I just need a vacation. So I take good 6 weeks off every year when I can. This year it was different.
How long do you need to get back into shape?
Yeah, and it takes 5 days if I have a rehearsal and an orchestra concert.
5 days after 6 weeks?
Yeah. If I have a solo concerto, it takes me 2 weeks because I don't, if you're playing as a soloist, you don't get to build up strength in a rehearsal. You're trying to survive the rehearsals, not to give all of your strength before the concert's there.
So Eric, it's really hard to say this. This is a really mean question to ask, but what would be your ultimate piece of advice? For all of us sitting here, all of us watching out there, what is your ultimate piece of advice?
That would be exactly the same thing that Farkas wrote in his book. And he wrote, if there was one thing that I would suggest in this, he was that you would have every horn student or player would have a light on his stand that he would turn on before they play, and it says, relax. Of course, relaxing is not that. Well, relaxing is everything that I've been talking about poised flexion, of getting into this part to open up the chest. I guess if the way I would translate that into my technique was not to work against the bottom with the top. Even if it's this diaphragmatic support that goes, what you're doing is inhibiting the flexibility of the intercostal muscles, and that is what it's all about. That's why I'm 64 and a half, just broke my neck in 2 places on November 21st, and actually really had fun with the Strauss on Wednesday. Which will be up on YouTube.
Is he amazing? I wish I could have heard it.
Well,
we will be able to hear it. You're uploading it soon?
He's been uploading it. It will go on my new website.
I hope you're not using this internet.
So have you done this ericterwilliger.com? We did that.
Yes, we have got ericterwilliger.com is the new website. Philip Alexander has written and he's watching. And thank you, Philip, for sponsoring the Hangout. And yeah, a lot of people. Juan Manuel Gomez from Barcelona has just written saying he's been playing the warm-up since he's met you. And Fernando wants to talk to you about the importance of working F horn. And Fernando, you'll have to do that on another Hangout. Today we're done, and we have a big party to go to.
Oh, yes.
Nigel and Miriam, backstage, there's the most amazing smells coming. I don't know what empanadas or what's back there. Oh, it's
So
incredible.
we're going to the beach.
We are vamos a la playa.
All
Vamos
right.
a la playa. We really are. We might take some pictures and share them with you. But to say thank you for watching and to send you a special greeting, we have, Nigel, tell me what are we going to play? We have a special greeting for everyone now.
It's Jota Marinera. It's a traditional Mallorcan melody.
That you've arranged for all of us. So why don't you set up, and Eric and I are going to come up to the camera and say goodbye to everyone. You guys set it up behind here. Quick. We're coming up to you. Stop. Is that enough? Thank you very, very much for watching. And you can carry on sending in your questions in on the Facebook. We'll be able to see them all afterwards. And yeah, we're going to go and have something on the beach. Thank you, Eric, for all of that.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Really.
It's always a...
I tell you, when we come into work, Eric's been playing a lot of first horn with us at the Berlin Phil, and 1 hour, you can set your watch by it. 1 hour before the concert, you are doing, and before the rehearsal, you are doing your Farkas warm-up.
Trying to get into the groove, getting loose and relaxed and focused and flexible.
Yeah, no, it's great. Where can you buy the Farkas book these days? Mine is so dog-eared that I
don't even know.
No, I don't know. If any of you know, I'm sure it's online still. Mine has lost the cover and it's lost the first page.
You asked me to bring mine, and mine is literally in tatters.
And you have one in Spanish as well.
Well, I just have the translation in Spanish.
Yeah.
Oh, and with the website, I have Spanish and German as well. It will be up within a week, also on the website, not just in English.
Horn Hangouts are just great for that sort of promotion. Good for you.
Thank you,
no,
Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And it's actually quite funny that the internet went down during yours for the second time.
Oh, no.
So we'll have to have you back again. How about that?
Oh, definitely. We'll have to do it in Cuba.
In Cuba, that's right. Any of my Cuban friends watching today? Hello, hola.
Thank you.
You're way too. We come in. Yeah, come in. Don't be shy. They're very shy. So we now have this piece for you, which is called Bernardo. Tell me what's this called?
Jota Marinera.
Jota Marinera. Jota Marinera. It sounds like a pasta sauce. This is for you. This is Eric and his wonderful group of students. A big, big thank you to Nigel and Miriam for organizing all this. It's really been amazing. I'm very happy to be part of it. I'm here as Eric's fan, and thank you, George, Eric, and George, Jakob, and Tim as well for running the stream. We'll see you next time. We're not quite sure what the next Horn Hangout is. Send us some suggestions. We'll see what we can do. Okay? Here we go. This is for you.
Okay. Dos compases. 1, 2, 3.